think we can start? Okay, just give me a minute. All right. So we start with chapter 13 today. How to stop procrastinating by using the 2-minute rule. Twyla Tharp is widely regarded as one of the greatest dancers and choreographers of the modern era. In 1992, she was awarded a MacArthur Fellowship, often referred to as the Genius Grant, and she has spent the bulk of her career touring the globe to perform her original works. She also credits much of her success to simple daily habits. I begin each day of my life with ritual, she writes. I wake up at 5:30 a.m., put on my workout clothes, my leg warmers, my sweatshirt, and my hat. I walk outside my Manhattan home, hail a taxi, and tell the driver to take me to the Pumping Iron Gym at 91st Street and 1st Avenue, where I work out for 2 hours. The ritual is not the stretching and weight training I put my body through each morning at the gym. The ritual is the cab. The moment I tell the driver where to go, I have completed the ritual. It's a simple act, but doing it the same way each morning habitualizes it, makes it repeatable, easy to do. It reduces the chance that I would skip it or do it differently. It is one more item in my arsenal of routines and one less thing to think about. Hailing a cab each morning may be a tiny action, but it is the example of the third law of behavior change. Researchers estimate that 40 to 50% of our actions on any given day are done out of habit. This is already a substantial percentage, but the true influence of your habits is even greater than these numbers suggest. Habits are automatic choices that influence the conscious decisions that follow. Yes, a habit can be completed in just a few seconds, but it can also shape the actions that you take for minutes or hours afterward. Habits are like the entrance ramp to a highway. They lead you down a path, and before you know it, you're speeding toward the next behavior. It seems to be easier to continue what you are already doing than to start doing something different. You sit through a bad movie for 2 hours. You keep snacking even when you're already full. You check your phone for just a second, and soon you have spent 20 minutes staring at the screen. In this way, the habits you follow without thinking often determine the choices you make when you are thinking. Each evening, there is a tiny moment, usually around 5:15 p.m., that shapes the rest of my night. My wife walks in the door from work, and either we change into our workout clothes and head to the gym, or we crash onto the couch, order Indian food, and watch The Office. Similar to Twyla Tharp hailing the cab, the ritual is changing into my workout clothes. If I change clothes, I know the workout will happen. Everything that follows, driving to the gym, deciding which exercises to do, stepping under the bar, is easy once I've taken the first step. Every day, there are a handful of moments that deliver an outsized impact. I refer to these little choices as decisive moments. The moment you decide between ordering takeout or cooking dinner, the moment you choose between driving your car or riding your bike, the moment you decide between starting your homework or grabbing the video game controller. These choices are a fork in the road. Decisive moments. Decisive moments set the options available to your future self. For instance, walking into a restaurant is a decisive moment because it determines what you'll be eating for lunch. Technically, you are in control of what you order, but in a larger sense, you can only order an item if it is on the menu. If you walk into a steakhouse, you can get a sirloin or a rib eye, but not sushi. Your options are constrained by what's available. They are shaped by the first choice. We are limited by where our habits lead us. This is why mastering the decisive moments throughout your day is so important. Each day is made up of many moments, but it is really a few habitual choices that determine the path you take. These little choices stack up, each one setting the trajectory for how you spend the next chunk of time. Habits are the entry point, not the end point. They are the cab, not the gym. The 2 minute rule. Even when you know you should start small, it's easy to start too big. When you dream about making a change, excitement inevitably takes over and you end up trying to do too much too soon. The most effective way I know to counteract this tendency is to use the 2 minute rule, which states when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. You'll find that nearly any habit can be scaled down into a 2 minute version. Read before bed each night becomes read one page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Fold the laundry becomes fold one pair of socks. Run 3 miles becomes tie my running shoes. The idea is to make your habits as easy as possible to start. Anyone can meditate for 1 minute, read one page, or put one item of clothing away. And as we have just discussed, this is a powerful strategy because once you have started doing the right thing, it is much easier to continue doing it. A new habit should not feel like a challenge. The actions that follow can be challenging, but the first 2 minutes should be easy. What you want is a gateway habit that naturally leads you down a more productive path. You can usually figure out the gateway habits that will lead you to your desired outcome by mapping out your goals on a scale from very easy to very hard. For instance, running a marathon is very hard. Running a 5K is hard. Walking 10,000 steps is moderately difficult. Walking 10 minutes is easy. And putting on your running shoes is very easy. Your goal might be to run marathon, but your gateway habit is to put on your running shoes. That's how you follow the 2 minute rule. As in very easy, easy, moderate, hard, and very hard. People often think it's weird to get hyped about reading one page or meditating for 1 minute or making one sales call. But the point is not to do one thing. The point is to master the habit of showing up. The truth is, a habit must be established before it can be improved. If you can't learn the basic skill of showing up, then you have little hope of mastering the finer details. Instead of trying to engineer a perfect habit from the start, do the easy thing on a more consistent basis. You have to standardize before you can optimize. As you master the art of showing up, the first 2 minutes simply become a ritual at the beginning of a larger routine. This is not merely a hack to make habits easier, but actually the ideal way to master a difficult skill. The more you ritualize the beginning of a process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into the state of deep focus that is required to do great things. By doing the same warm up before every workout, you make it easier to get into a state of peak performance. By following the same creative ritual, you make it easier to get into the hard work of creating. By developing a consistent power down habit, you make it easier to get to bed at a reasonable time each night. You may not be able to automate the whole process, but you can make the first action mindless. Make it easy to start, and the rest will follow. The 2 minute rule can seem like a trick to some people. You know that the real goal is to do more than just 2 minutes. So it may feel like you're trying to fool yourself. Nobody is actually aspiring to read one page or do one push up or open their notes. And if you know it's a mental trick, why would you fall for it? If the 2 minute rule feels forced, try this. Do it for 2 minutes and then stop. Go for a run, but you must stop after 2 minutes. Start meditating, but you must stop after 2 minutes. Study Arabic, but you must stop after 2 minutes. It's not a strategy for starting, it's the whole thing. Your habit can only last 120 seconds. One of my readers used this strategy to lose over 100 pounds. In the beginning, he went to the gym each day, but he told himself he wasn't allowed to stay for more than 5 minutes. He would go to the gym, exercise for 5 minutes, and leave as soon as his time was up. After a few weeks, he looked around and thought, well, I'm always coming here anyway. I might as well start staying a little longer. A few years later, the weight was gone. Journaling provides another example. Nearly everyone can benefit from getting their thoughts out of their head and onto paper. But most people give up after a few days or avoid it entirely because journaling feels like a chore. The secret is to always stay below the point where it feels like work. Greg McKeown, a leadership consultant from the United Kingdom, built a daily journaling habit by specifically writing less than he felt like. He always stopped journaling before it seemed like a hassle. Ernest Hemingway believed in similar advice for any kind of writing. The best way is to always stop when you are going good, he said. Strategies like this work for another reason too. They reinforce the identity you want to build. If you show up at the gym 5 days in a row, even if it's just for 2 minutes, you are casting votes for your new identity. You're not worried about getting in shape. You're focused on becoming the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. Excuse me. You're taking the smallest action that confirms the type of person you want to be. We rarely think about change this way because everyone is consumed by the end goal. But one push up is better than not exercising. 1 minute of guitar practice is better than none at all. 1 minute of reading is better than never picking up a book. It's better to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all. At some point, once you've established the habit and you're showing up each day, you can combine the 2 minute rule with a technique we call habit shaping to scale your habit back up toward your ultimate goal. Start by mastering the first 2 minutes of the smallest version of the behavior. Then, advance to an intermediate step and repeat the process, focusing on just the first 2 minutes and mastering that stage before moving on to the next level. Eventually, you'll end up with the habit you had originally hoped to build while still keeping your focus where it should be, on the first 2 minutes of behavior. Examples of habit shaping they're given here: becoming an early riser or becoming vegan. You could just go through that, and starting to exercise. Nearly any larger life goal can be transformed into a 2 minute behavior. I want to live a healthy and long life. I need to stay in shape. I need to exercise. I need to change into my workout clothes. I want to have a happy marriage. I need to be a good partner. I should do something each day to make my partner's life easier. I should meal plan for next week. Whenever you are struggling to stick with a habit, you can employ the 2 minute rule. It's a simple way to make your habits easy. Chapter summary. Habits can be completed in a few seconds, but continue to impact your behavior for minutes or hours afterward. Many habits occur at decisive moments, choices that are like a fork in the road and either send you in the direction of a productive day or an unproductive one. The 2 minute rule states when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The more you ritualize the beginning of a process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into the state of deep focus that is required to do great things. Standardize before you optimize. You can't improve a habit that doesn't exist. So that was chapter 14 for you, 13, sorry, for you. What did you think of the content? Did you like what you heard? Would you like to share something? Yes? Anyone? Yes, Chandrasekhar?
Yes, ma'am. In this chapter, I like this 2 minutes rule, ma'am.
Can you just read
Uh,
up speak up a little, Chandrasekhar? Your voice is very soft.
yes, ma'am. In this chapter, I like this 2 minutes rule, ma'am.
Okay.
Like when we start a new habit, it should be take a less time. When here in my room, ma'am, I will start to clean my room, but
Okay.
it's take 10 minutes sometimes. So if 2 days we leave, it takes 15 minutes. So every day I did, it takes a
Okay.
2 minutes, like 5 minutes. If
Okay.
every day, if I not at all do, it takes 15 minutes for all days and then weekend.
Okay.
So every day I shall start with 2 minutes. It's easy to do every day.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's what he talks about, isn't it? The thing is, when you do everything, even if for a little time, before you start feeling the strain of doing it, slowly or gradually, the author says that it becomes a habit, isn't it? I mean, the example that I can give you from my side is when people try to go on a diet. Okay. So, what they do is in that initially they are so charged and enthusiastic about the whole thing that they go on a very, very, what we call a crash diet, cut on everything, I mean, cut on all the favorite foods. And then finally, this diet lasts for about a few days. And before you know it, you're so tired of it, you feel you have this craving to eat whatever you want. And then you eat more than you normally do. What we call you go on a binge, binge eating, where you go on eating. So the whole purpose is lost. Instead, if you go on a diet where you cut down on little things, maybe you have little, if you have 2 bowls of rice, you have maybe 1.5 bowls of rice to start with. If you have 5 rotis, you reduce to 4 rotis. I mean, that little, you start like that, slowly you build it up, and before you know it, you will still be maintaining your diet and you'll be able to cut down on more without feeling the strain. So, something like that. Yes. All right. Anybody else has anything to share about this 2 minute rule? Yes. That's where everybody's awake. Today's chapter was quite short. That's also something which we are incorporating in this reading club, isn't it? We stick with one chapter in each session so that there isn't too much that of reading you're listening to. At the same time, there is enough for you to understand, grasp, and discuss on. Right?
Yes.
Yes,
Actually,
Radha. Hmm.
yeah. Good evening, everybody. Actually, this is nice thing that we practice many a time on our own also. Like anything to last long, it should
Yeah.
always we should always take baby steps. Like exactly what you told that we start dieting, do crash dieting, and then we start binge eating.
Yes.
So it's better that we go for 2 minutes to the gym, exercise, and come back, even if it is one step, 2 steps, or whatever.
Yes,
But then
absolutely.
slowly and slowly, the rewards that we get make us fall into that good habit that yes, whatever come may, like your body only body as well as your mind, that yes, I have to go now, it is time, I have to go. So that I think so this 2 minute rule is really very good.
Yeah, it makes sure that we do it, isn't it? Like, it's a very valid point that he makes, that you should stop it before you start feeling like it's a big job, that you're doing. So stop it when you're still enjoying what you're doing, isn't it?
For
So,
me, the it goes for journaling. Like writing one line also seems very a huge task for me.
okay.
So whenever Kritika sends a message, do the journaling, then I quickly pick up the book and write at least one line and finish it off.
Okay, good. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Today,
the best way of doing it, little by little. And
yeah,
before you know it, it makes, there has bound to be a change, because every time you're doing something, isn't it? You're not stopping on that, and it becomes a good habit.
actually, long back when we were in school, I was in school or college, we had this habit of writing the diary, everyday diary.
Yes.
So now it has been given a new name, journaling, but it was the everyday diary. We used to write like even one or two lines every day that this has been done today. So now it is,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Hmm.
something different.
That was a very good habit, actually, I mean, because
Yes,
now everything they suggest, writing and journaling, it helps you in so many different ways. It's not just putting down your thoughts or what happened during the day. It is almost therapeutic, because it's good to put down some things which you may not be able to talk about. You can always put it down on paper.
yes.
So that's one thing which is, good about journaling as well. Thank you, Taranjit. Anybody else? Chandrasekhar has always said something. What about the others? Anything that you'd like to share about this? The
Another
idea that's,
point,
yeah,
yes, another point I would like to share in this chapter, ma'am.
okay.
Here, they said, author said, when you check your phone for just a second, and
Mm-hmm.
soon you have spent 20 minutes starting at the screen. It's
Yes. You don't realize it, isn't it? It's actually very, uh, you realize how harmful it is, because we don't realize it. You start looking at something before you know it. It's like watching reels, whether it's on Insta, or so you pick up watch a reel, you find it funny, and you just scroll down and you find something else. Before you know it, you're scrolling down so many of them, and it's like chatting. You start chatting with someone, and if you get involved in the chat, you don't realize how time goes by.
yes, ma'am, really, ma'am, I experienced in my lockdown time, ma'am. But in lockdown time, I like just have phone. Any message will came. That message
Mm.
will take for 10 minutes, five other for 15 minutes.
Yes. No, but I suppose during the lockdown, that was a time where everybody was going through. It was a very different and a very challenging time, isn't it? Nobody knew how to handle the situation. So it was bound, you would be psychologically affected at that time. So, but people got over it. There's always a good aspect and a bad aspect of situations like that. All right. So, anything else about the 2 minute rule? Or do you think it's the right way of following, inculcating a habit, or doing something and making it a good habit? Is this the best way of doing it, or do you think this is not very effective? So you don't have to always agree with what the writer says. If there's something you feel is not does not something you don't believe, you can express it here as well.
Ma'am, like it's here, ma'am. Like
Mm-hmm.
something better than the nothing, ma'am. Like we not at all any work. So
Mm-hmm.
rather than start any new work with take a less time or any more time, we not at all doing our lifetime. We just saw and leave it. But when we start practical, it is
Yeah.
like a new habit and we experience it. It's maybe takes less time or more time is not important. We not at all do anything. We just start with a new thing.
Yes. True. Start with, I mean, that's what he's trying to say, isn't it? When you want to do something, get started in whichever way you can. The problem is, we sometimes we want to do it in the best, most perfect way. You have people who say, I will do this only when on the perfect day when everything is right. But you may never get a day like that. So does that mean you're never going to do that particular act or action for a long time? Do whatever you can, start and make it a habit. So that's what he tries to speak in this chapter as well, isn't it? That you're not focusing on the goal, you're focusing on the way to the goal. And if that is established, then the outcome will happen, which makes a lot of sense, because now that's a habit and that's not going to change. So if you continue doing it, you are going to get a result. And if it's a good habit, the result will be good. That's what he's trying to say, and which means anyone can do it. It's not something that is meant only for certain people. Anyone can do it. And that is such a wonderful thought, isn't it? Which means we can take up any challenge and work on something and it can work out. All it requires is dedicated effort.
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it? Yeah. So anything else? I seem to be doing most of the talking today. Who else is there? Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Or shall we call it a day? Because I don't think we'll move into another chapter today. Or would you like me to start another chapter?
I think so. We can start another chapter tomorrow.
Tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, even I feel it's better to leave a chapter, finish with
Because
one.
if it is half, then the whole throughout the day, I don't know about others, but I keep thinking, nah, even though I've read this book 3 times before, but then also, then I keep remembering then what we are going to read, now what we are going to
Okay,
and
all right.
then excitement dies. Then otherwise, I'm very excited every evening. Yes, at 10 o'clock, I put an alarm so that I don't forget and the reading class starts.
Okay, that's very nice. It shows a lot of interest. Yeah,
Yes.
so we'll stop with this then today. And since I think we've discussed also quite a bit. And if if there's anything you'd like to share, even the next reading session about a chapter, maybe which you missed the previous chapter, you can always share it when we are interacting at the end of the session. So I think we'll stop here. So all of you have a good night ahead. Yes. Good
Thank you,
night.
ma'am.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.